ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Tuesday, March 24th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines, 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite Hold True. Great taste, only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. We are going to be pretty busy today on the show, I hope, because, well, despite yet another day without sport, we've got stuff to talk about. And, of course, I like talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, and thankfully the Bengals are a thing for me today because the NFL continues. Amidst this sports drought, the NFL continues to come through. Now, I could talk Tom Brady. I'm not going to do that. I'm talked out about Tom Brady, and I'm not even talking Tom Brady. I'm done. I'm good. I've got enough of Tom Brady. No. I want to talk about the Bengals today because, well, I think I've been negligent in covering my favorite NFL football team. And you know what? Yahoo Sports has done a good job of kind of analyzing the draft, analyzing the free agency market, everything that's going on. And, well, they gave the Bengals a B- as a grade. And, you know, I'll take that. Right now, the Bengals a B- free agency? What? The Bengals are participating in free agency? How crazy is this? Of course, you lose Cordy Glenn. You lose him. You release him. You drop the franchise tag on A.J. Green. You have to do that. And it's obvious that you're not going to be needing your quarterback anytime soon because, well, you're going to pick up a new one. And so Andy Dalton, and we'll talk about that, kind of don't know where he's going to go, where he's going to be. Eventually, does he get dropped? But you add, as a defensive tackle, you get DJ Reader, and you get Trey Waynes, cornerback. And you add up all the math, and that's $95 million. I don't remember when the Bengals have spent $95 million. I don't remember the Bengals spending $9 million. $95 million? And so you're going to shore up some definite holes, and you're going to try to make that team a little bit more stout. You're going to try to make that team a little bit more of a dynamic defense. You're really going to try to make the Bengals competitive. That's what I'm seeing here. And, of course, you add Joe Burrow to the mix, and you have to have A.J. Green. Burrow's got to have somebody to throw to. So you keep A.J. Green. You drop that franchise tag on him, and you just, whatever comes out of it, you match it. You just drop that franchise tag on him and keep him. And you definitely have something that's pretty worthwhile here. Now, I don't know where we're going to see Andy Dalton go. I don't know if the Bengals are going to have a hand in that, if there's going to be any trades that are going to come up here soon. I don't know what's going to happen here. But if I'm Andy Dalton, I'm thinking maybe I better go somewhere soon because the Panthers just released Cam Newton. So Cam Newton's gone. And if I'm looking for a quarterback right now, and there's Andy Dalton, there's Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, I'm weighing this right now. Who do I take? I think I'm going to go with Cam Newton. I'm going to go with a guy that at least has won in the playoffs. I'm going to go with a guy that was an MVP. I'm going to go with that guy, even if it's short term. If I need a quarterback in a hurry so I can build around him or patch up a hole or I'm not in a good position where I can draft one, I'm thinking, do I take a fly on Cam Newton or do I take a chance on Andy Dalton? And I think you know where my answer is at. I think you know. And if you don't, let me tell you, it's Andy Dalton not going to be on my team. Why? Because Cam Newton is a marquee name. He might bring me a little bit more panache. He might bring me a little bit more swagger. He might bring me a little bit more revenue because people are going to come see him. And I'll tell you what, you look at the quarterback market. Let's look at what's on the market right now. Quarterback-wise, Cam Newton, yeah. Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. You need a quarterback right now. Is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market? Be honest. It's not really the seller's market here. If I'm a quarterback, I'm looking for an opportunity here. I think teams can go, what do we got to work with here? And I still haven't seen anything with substance come out that says, oh, the Bengals are working on a trade deal with this team, or there could be a rumor here. And you know what? I'm done with this. I really am. I'm done with this all Andy Dalton Patriot thing. That's over with. I'm not looking at that because I don't think there's a trade partner out there. To be honest with you, I don't think there's really a trade partner. You know why? It's probably it's really the contract. Because if you're going to pick up Andy Dalton, guess what? You've got a big contract here because he's in the last year of his deal, $17 million. $17 million last year of his deal. So what happens? You can't trade him and you're trying to protect your cap space. You're probably dropping him. I mean, Cam Newton got the boot. He got dropped. So what are you doing? So if you are looking for a quarterback, are you taking Andy Dalton at full price? Or if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, are you hanging on to him, trying to find something? I think eventually you're going to have to make that decision. All right, yeah, we can't take the cap hit here. We can't take that. Obviously, Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback. But how do you find a landing spot if you're looking at some of the free agents that were out there? I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady. And I know there was that rumor, that talk that Dalton was maybe on the minds of Bill Belichick, but I don't think they're really interested. And again, it's contract. I mean, if I'm going to pay a quarterback $17 million, am I getting Andy Dalton? Am I going after Andy Dalton? But he doesn't have that much trade value right now. They're going to cut him. They're going to cut him without any trade. And guess what? They're going to free up the cap space. Dalton's going to get snapped up by somebody because then he's going to be a value proposition. Right now, $17 million, definitely not a value proposition. And I don't know if this is going to be an easy resolve here because, to be honest with you, you could keep him. I mean, you could keep him. You could keep him. He could be the guy that you have as a bridge for your number one guy. I mean, because Burrow's coming in. Do you have Dalton as sort of like your bridge quarterback? Is he the guy that he gets that final year, rides out into the sunset? He's got Burrow in the wings, heir apparent. Or do you want Burrow to be your guy day one? So you could keep him. That's a possibility. Or, as I mentioned, you know what? $17.7 million on the cap. Take the hit. Drop him. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate you. Sorry we couldn't trade you. Good luck out there. And I don't think you keep him. I don't think you keep him because, again, $17.7 million cap saving, and you just dropped the franchise tag on A.J. Green. You need the cash. You need the cash. And guess what? To be fair, and this is really not to sound mean, but Andy Dalton's going to be fine. Monetarily, he's going to be fine. He has, hopefully, enough money in the bank to live a nice life if he doesn't get that $17 million. And if he has to pick up a job for $7 million. $7 million. Sorry, Andy. I know it's going to be rough living on $7 million there. Come on. I think the Bengals have been a little generous in this situation. To be fair, they're trying. They want to work with the guy. I get that. I understand. But at the end of the day, you're going to do what's best for the football team. And we're not talking about a guy that makes minimum wage here. We're not talking about a guy who's living paycheck to paycheck. We're talking about Andy Dalton, who at best had a few good years, wasn't able to produce in the postseason. Maybe part of that's not on him. Maybe part of that is on him. But at the end of the day, $17.7 million, you're dropping him. And then a team like the Patriots, if they were interested, they would pick him up at $7 million. And another team that needs a quarterback, they would pick him up. There would be some value proposition. Okay, we can spend a few million, not $17 million, but we can spend a few million, pick up a quarterback, Andy Dalton, maybe use him until you get another quarterback drafted in there. Who knows? Sorry, Tom Brady had to become a free agent this year, Andy. I hate that for you. I mean, after all, Tampa Bay could have been a landing spot for Andy Dalton. And the Patriots, of course, making some Patriot-like moves. It's all about winning for Bill Belichick. And at the same time, they use you until you're done, and then you're gone. End of the day, you're of value to the Patriots until you're not, and then you're gone. And with the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, you're going to have to cut this guy. You're going to have to cut this guy, truly move toward the future, truly start to rebuild, start thinking about your number one pick, Joe Burrow, bring him in, build the franchise around him, save that $17 million on the cap, pay A.J. Green, get you another wide receiver, shore up your defense, get that offensive line going. I mean, you got things to do, and I think that's what's going to happen. So the good news is I'm pretty optimistic with the Bengals. I know we got several months ago until football begins again. It might not even start on time. We don't know. But at the same time, the fact that the Bengals in free agency spending $95 million, I mean, they're spending like they might actually want to win. That's the thing. They're spending like they might want to win. Or they're going to placate the fans. I don't know which. But I can't see the Bengals spending $95 million to be 8-8. I can't see them spend that kind of money just to be average. Maybe get into the playoffs now and then. This is a franchise, I think they've got to win. They've got to win, and they've got to win now to survive. They've got to win, get the fans to come back, get that gate built back up. There were times I saw the crowd, and I could sit there and count them. I could count everybody in the crowd from the TV shots. Wasn't many people there. And, of course, I know some of those tickets are already paid for with season tickets, but a lot of those aren't. And if your fans aren't there, they're not spending money on concessions. They're not spending money on parking. They're not spending money in downtown Cincinnati. I mean, that hits people. I know we're talking about 8 dates, but those are 8 expensive dates. Because you got to park. And you got to go to the game and hit the souvenir shop. And if you've got your kid with you, you got to get a little jersey or you got to get a hat. You're always hitting the souvenir shop. Hey, here's the latest shirt that's out. Here's the latest jersey that's out. Hey, need a hat. Then you're going to hit the concession stand. And it's not like going to a car hop, getting a dollar dog or a couple dollars for a hot dog. No. You're spending a few dollars. And if you multiply that by 2, by 4, you got a family with you, you're spending a lot of money on beverages. You're spending a lot of money on food and everything else that goes along with that. And let me tell you, that stuff adds up. That stuff adds up. And if it's not there, it hits the bottom line completely. So the Bengals spending $95 million, what's that over? I think they want to win. I think they want to win and get people to come back and watch football games. I hope that's the case. We will see. 5:21 on today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Paul Swann, your host. We will carry on. We'll check out what's happening in today's history of sports. That's right, a couple of milestones to tell you about. And who's the Associated Press top player of the year? Who's the coach of the year? We'll tell you about that when we continue on today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We are presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. So, good news today. If you are a Dayton Flyers fan, Obi Toppin and Anthony Grant recognized by the Associated Press as the top college men's basketball player and the coach of the year. So, they get the sweep of that award. That was the team I was excited about watching. With March Madness, I wanted to see how far the Dayton could go. I really wanted them to be that team that could be a disruptive force, get in there, make it to the Elite Eight, Final Four. I'm not saying they could have won it all, but I was interested to see if they could go all the way. And now we won't have the opportunity, and I can only wonder what Obi Toppin would have looked like in the NBA pre-draft. In the March Madness tournament, he would have been fantastic. So, I mean, does his stock stay where it is? Does his stock rise? I don't know. But the guy is top player of the year, according to the Associated Press. And so, is that where the Wooden's going? Does he get the Wooden Award? It's a pretty strong indicator. Very rarely does the Associated Press top player of the year not end up winning the Wooden. So, I'm thinking that's where the Wooden Award goes, going to Obi Toppin. So, we talked about the Panthers releasing Cam Newton today, trying to save some cap space, and we're kind of keeping an eye on the NBA, the NFL, seeing what kind of transactions are going on there. NBA is right now on hiatus. The NFL making transactions. The NBA kind of in limbo right now. I mean, thankfully, the NFL can do what they do. They can do contract negotiations and do all this stuff. Don't have to be on the court, don't have to be on the field, don't have to be in the boardroom even. You can telepresence in, you can teleconference in and do all this. So thankfully we've got that. But I think the other story that we keep keeping an eye on, that's what we're doing, we keep keeping, is what the impact here is daily on some of these franchises, some of these organizations. And there was the report that the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils we're going to have a 20% reduction on employee salaries. Well, there was a backlash, and the owner of both the 76ers and the Devils, Josh Harris, kind of changed his mind on that, called it a mistake, apologizing to staff and fans, because after that came out, of course, fans, social media, public backlash, all of that really came to bear. And with all of that, guess what? They are not going to make those cuts right now. Now, on the other side of this, the Montreal Canadiens are temporarily laying off 60% of employees, while the National Hockey League, well, they're going to trim some hours as well. And at this point, you're idling. The NHL is sitting to wait to see if they can have a season. The NBA sitting and waiting to see if they can have a season. The NFL, they're rolling on right now. One, they're a behemoth. Two, they got business at hand. So it's a good time for the NFL from the standpoint that if you work for an NFL team, you've got a little bit more flexibility because you've got business to attend to. You've got the business of football because you're still shooting for a season. You don't have to say we're not going to play just yet. You can ride this out. You can see if you have to push this back a little bit, have to alter some dates. You're still in a good spot right now. you are in a bad spot if you're the NHL because you're waiting to see if you're going to play this season. Because right now, if you listen to Gary Bettman, you hear the commissioner, don't want to mess up the upcoming season. Want to make sure that if you play this thing now, you do this season, you have some integrity going into the Stanley Cup, and you don't wreck the next season. Because what do? Do you try to push forward and get this season concluded? Or if we get to a point where we're still on hold, we're still on a delay here, do you shoot for the next season? Because you can start the next season late. You can push it back. And plus the difficulty here is you're not playing on a court, you're playing on ice. And that's going to be a difficulty at best, especially in summer months, trying to keep that going. You just don't keep the sheet of ice refrigerated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not a thing. And so we're looking at that. The NBA, they can push this thing back. Again, if Tom Brady is playing on the same day as LeBron James, I'm all right. I'm good with it. I can handle it. I got no problems whatsoever. And, of course, then we're getting into what are we going to do with college football? What we're going to do with that? Because let's be honest, we're getting into the point now, and I can't really speak to the budgetary concerns. I can't give you the minutia, but I can give you what I know. And budgets, of course, they're a yearly thing. You know that. You're looking at how's the delay of college football going to impact the upcoming budget? How does that impact sport? Because you're looking at the college level here now. You got to work on budgets now. You got to work on what you're trying to put together for the next season. And let's say college football is impacted. We go into this a few months from now, and we got to push football back. We got to push college football back, or got to delay some games. You got to delay practice. You got to maybe reschedule. You got to do all of this. And what does that mean? Well, one thing, we go back to you don't have fans in the stands. You don't have tickets being renewed. And by the way, as a side note, just because Marshall's got ticket information, we talked about that a couple of days ago. I just want to reiterate that they're pushing stuff back on that. So you don't have to pay right away. And that's a good thing. But there are going to be a lot of people who are maybe right now kind of just worried. What do you do? I mean, you can't just say, hey, let's go play football. You got to have other teams to play with. And depending on state restrictions across the board, some teams might not be able to go play football. It's going to vary completely on state-to-state situations as well. And so you've got schedule concerns, and you've got budgetary concerns, and you've got health concerns. You've got all of this to try to put together. So your favorite athletic director, mine being Mike Hamrick, isn't just sitting back at his home office, putting his feet up, going, okay, well, come back to work here in a few weeks. No, they've got to concern themselves with everything top to bottom. How does this, if it does, impact the bottom line? How does this impact going forward and paying for things? How much of a hit will the revenue take? How much of a hit will the bottom line take? And if there is that situation where you get to push this thing back, how do you make that happen? What does that look like? What does college football look like in a delayed sense of schedule? You push spring training back because you're going to have a ramp-up period. You can't just say, okay, let's go. I mean, so spring training won't be in spring, but spring football, maybe that's summer now. Maybe that's a few weeks before you get into first game, because you can't just put everybody together on the field and say, all right, pad up, suit up, gear up, let's go. You got to have that natural ramp up, and skybox considerations as well. I mean, more so for other schools. You got renewals there. You've got the concern of, okay, if there's not a season, we're not getting that revenue, or we're delaying that revenue. How does that work? Travel, everything. There's so much you got to look at and you got to worry about right now with what everything is going on. And trust me, I'm not having the best of days every day because I'm trying to make sure that I come in here with a purpose and talk to you about what's going on, have some fun with you as well. But at the end of the day, I'm not hurting as far as this particular point in my job. I'm not hurting because, let's be honest, we're going to get all this together, done. We're going to get through this. I'm going to have stuff I want to talk about eventually happen again. I'm going to have hockey. I'm going to have baseball. I'm going to have basketball. I'm going to have football. And we're going to get back to normal one way or the other. Because trust me, I haven't even gone to the depths of the minutia we could get into just yet. I haven't gone there. I've sort of fought that. I'm sort of resisting that urge to just go there. It's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen. But right now we still got a lot of things we can get into. But as bad as it might seem, you know what? I don't envy guys like Mike Hamrick. I don't envy athletic directors and coaches and players. I don't envy their situation right now. And I feel bad for everybody. Not because I'm selfish and I want to see sports. It's just because nobody knows. And everybody's doing the right thing, but still, it sucks. It really does.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, March 24th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I want to update you what's happening in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear speaking earlier, making a little bit more of a change, making the announcement that all businesses that are not life-sustaining will be ordered closed by 8 p.m. on Thursday. The exempts are grocery stores, manufacturers, food and beverage businesses, agriculture, news media, gas stations, construction, logistics, mail delivery, laundry service, and restaurants for takeout and delivery. The reason I want to also add to what happened today in the update, which, by the way, Andy Beshear is doing a fantastic job. Of all the governor updates that I've seen, Andy Beshear is top flight on my book. He pointed out today that there was a positive test. And first of all, there were 39 new cases. And one case of the coronavirus is a positive test from someone who attended a coronavirus party. And he said we ought to be much better than that. And I'm going to echo that. Don't be an idiot. If you've got to be out for a particular reason, you've got to be out for something that is vital, I get that completely. You got to go to the grocery store because, well, you got to eat. I get that. If you are a service worker, definitely, yeah, we've got to have things open for you. Even if it's you're going to a restaurant to get a quick bite to eat, takeout, because you're heading home from work or you are heading towards work. I mean, I get that. You know, we are in a situation right now where we're trying to be smart, not trying to take people's freedoms away. We're just trying to be smart right now. Just trying to be careful, smart, and at the same time, we're trying to help everybody out. You know, if you need to go to the grocery store for supplies, I get that completely as well. I've had to. You've had to. If you've got to go somewhere because you are considered an essential worker, I get that as well. Everybody has got to do their part. Just be smart. But just to go to a coronavirus party because you're young and you think you're bulletproof, no, you got to be better than that. Completely got to be better than that. And this is not a joke. You're trying to flatten the curve, protect a lot of people. And if you can flatten the curve, we're going to be a lot better off. And then we're not going to have to worry about our healthcare workers as much because they're not going to be overwhelmed. We still have to worry about them, but we're not going to put them to the point where they are stressed and taxed beyond their ability. And that's the point of all this. Just be smart, be careful, and don't do stupid things. That's basically, I think, my philosophy in life. And if it isn't, it is now. Be smart, don't do stupid things. That's it. That's all you need. Be smart and don't do stupid things. All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. We're going to wrap it up here on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Buckle up. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, March 24th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. So what happened on this very day in sports that you need to know about? Well, let's go back to 1973. Tiny Archibald finishes the season with 34 points per game and 11.4 assists per game, becoming the only player in NBA history to lead the league in scoring and assists in the same season. Tiny Archibald. You remember him? I was mere 2, I believe, when Tiny Archibald did that in 1973. Let us jump to 1992. Mario Lemieux, Super Mario, reaches 1,000 career points in his 513th game. Only Wayne Gretzky was faster to that milestone, did it in 424 games. Back in 2001, I don't want to call this one of my favorite sports memories, but it's one of my most vivid sports memories. Back on this day in 2001, Randy Johnson, the big unit, Randy Johnson. No, I don't mean the one over on 93.7 The Dog. Not that Randy Johnson. The real Randy Johnson. He threw a pitch in a spring training game which hit a bird in mid-flight, sending feathers flying everywhere. It was the most surreal thing I'd ever seen at the time. I had never seen anything like that again. I've never seen anything like that before. Throws the pitch, and then this bird is in the trajectory, because I don't think he was aiming. He has some good control, but he didn't have that good of control. And just disintegrated this bird mid-flight. It's not even horrifying. It's just like, oh my God, did that just happen? And I'm still stunned to this day. Now I'm going to have to go and YouTube it again. And you need to YouTube it as well. If you've never seen Randy Johnson just destroy a bird. 2001, on this day. You know who was at the plate? Calvin Murray. You know who Calvin Murray is? He's the uncle of your 2008 Heisman winner, Kyler Murray. So Calvin was the recipient of that pitch. And trust me, I'm sure he is horrified and shocked as the rest of us were. I wasn't horrified. I don't know if I was in awe of it or if I was just, my jaw dropped because I'd never seen anything like that. And I probably never will see anything like that again. And you know what? If it ever happened again, it won't have the same impact on me. I'm probably never going to see anything as absurd and just shocking. Not the scary shocking. Again, it's more like, I don't know, you got to go look it up if you've never seen it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about there. I mean, that doesn't happen in movies. That doesn't happen in video games. So the big unit, Randy Johnson. Again, not the Randy Johnson over on 93.7 The Dog, the one that's on the air right now. No, the real one, the real big unit, Randy Johnson. Oh, by the way, 2017, going to recent history, Devin Booker scored 70 points, becoming the youngest player in NBA history to hit that mark at 20 years and 145 days. But you know what? Yeah, it didn't help because you still lost to the Celtics. And so that is what happened on this very day. Again, got to go back. You got to go hit that. Randy Johnson, find that on YouTube and just watch it on a loop several times. I mean, you have to watch it in slow motion as well. Just watch the trajectory of the ball. It was a well-thrown pitch. It's beautiful as it hits this bird. And you're thinking, did the ball explode? No, a bird exploded in mid-flight. I mean, the bird's just minding its own business, enjoying the game, decided, you know what, I'm going to fly down there. I'm going to get a closer look at this baseball game. What's going on? I'm going to go check this out. Right? Or was the bird looking at the manicure looking at the grass and thinking, wow, that's a really nice place. I'm going to check that out. I bet I could get a worm down there. Just flew on in, and Randy Johnson made that bird famous and dead, all in the same moment. And I'll never, ever forget that. I didn't remember it was today until I saw it was today, but I will never, ever forget that moment in sports history. But yeah, it's historic. Big unit had a big pitch. I mean, imagine what that looks like if you didn't have a helmet and you weren't protected, what that would do to you. You ever want to imagine how dangerous baseball can be if you're not protected? Look at what Randy Johnson did to a bird, and then you'll understand completely what happened to that bird could happen to somebody's head if they weren't protected. I know this is this isn't maybe a good thought to have, but I'm kind of curious what a puck would look like. Like a full throttle slap shot, what that would look like if it hit a bird. I want that simulated, though. I don't want a bird hit. I'm just curious. If someone could simulate that without actually harming a bird, that would be fun. Yeah, I'm going to have PETA now calling me here. I'm going to have the animal rights people calling me because I'm kind of theorizing what would happen if the impact of a puck from a slap shot hit a bird. No, I don't want anyone to go and try it because, one, you got to have great aim. You'd have to have amazing aim to make that happen. And two, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Back tomorrow. We'll have some more fun. I promise you, we're going to do fun tomorrow. That's my goal. Back tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Good night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.